Fusebox. Folks, this is Fusebox 268, weirdly titled Snollygoster. Oh, hell. Hello, Fusebox. Oh, dude. No, we're on the air right now. Yeah. What do you need, bro? No, we're doing the show. So tell me what you want, and I'll let them know, man. Uh-huh. Sure. Yeah, we'll do. No, man. I'll tell them. Yeah, okay, bye. Yeah. Okay, this is Fusebox 268, Snollygoster. Whatever the fuck that means. And you might want to talk about what the bright light above the studio door means at the next staff meeting.
And maybe remind everyone how to live with Wolverines in your pants.
Or in this case, Japanese pocket squirrel.
So which one of our furry and felonious friends called and interrupted another sterling Milt Kane's Fusebox intro?
Milo.
Let me guess. We're running low on peanut butter.
Yep.
Yeah, duly noted. And moving on. Perhaps a pant load of Wolverines or maybe even peanut butter would help the orange grifter-in-chief stand a little straighter whilst addressing his sad little tank parades. You know?
You know, that Trumpster fire does tend to lean into the wind at a 60-degree angle, doesn't he?
Well, it's possibly in an effort to keep that toupee comb-over in place. And, hello, friends. A warm welcome into Fusebox number 268, insidiously titled Snollygoster, which is an actual word, most befitting our times. I'm your searching for uranium in all the wrong places host, Mark Rose, and over there, the virtual bunker buster of bass roll-off, the ever-stylish Milt Kane's, everybody.
Do we need to start up the whole duck and cover thing again?
Duck and cover.
You remember that drill when we were kids? I mean, holy carp on a cracker, dude. What the actual heck is going on out there? Anyway?
Yeah. Sadly, every day we wake up to more fresh ground stupid. Seriously. All these overreaches, they're completely out of control.
Well, he can't even get his cabinet members to align with his random batshit crazy decisions. He just threw that turncoat/Republican plant, Tulsi Gabbard, under the Sherman tank for telling the truth about Iran. You know, that they did not have the capacity to create nuclear weapons.
And that Iran has been completely in compliance with the rules and regulations of the entire world's oversight via the various and multiple inspection commissions, which leads me to the definition of our show's title this time out.
Well, I knew we'd get there eventually.
Timing is everything, Mr. Gaines. Yes, Snollygoster, dear friends, is defined by the Oxford English Dictionary.
Well, they ought to know. I mean, you know, being English from Oxford and being a dictionary and all.
Right. They define Snollygoster as, quote, a shrewd, unprincipled person, especially in politics.
You're making that up.
Nope. And I just can't possibly think of a single orange-tinted, fat, racist, ignorant fascist who fits that description. Can you, Mr. Kanes?
Adolf Hitler, maybe? Benito Mussolini, perhaps? Benedict Arnold? Benedict Cumberbatch?
I don't
Eggs Benedict.
Now you're just being silly.
You can't prove that.
Well, if the white hood fits, as they say. I think we can possibly see a potential match for that definition. In any event, we have a fun show planned, friends. We've got another hot, gooey tub of good news to try to balance the otherwise nightmarish situations flooding our daily lives. And we've also got a wonderful commentary by friend of the show and frequent collaborator Jodi Lorimer that recasts the immortal King Lear.
Uh-oh. Am I going to need like an Oxford thesaurus or translator or something to follow along or maybe...
Not to worry, Mr. Keynes. You'll be thoroughly entertained by this short piece without the need for any reference materials at all. Yes, but also, a classic of Grindhouse cinema is reviewed by New Jersey's own 42nd Street Pete on his Grindhouse Minute segment, the 1980s innard gobbling classic Cannibal Apocalypse.
I'll be out in the car.
Stay with us, friends.
Have you seen my keys?
I'm so afraid something will go wrong.
Bloodthirsty homicidal killer. And he makes house calls. Dr. Butcher, MD.
You like that one, guys?
Zombies! Yay!
Oh, that's a classic. Zombie Holocaust. Or retitled as Dr. Butcher, MD, Medical Deviant.
I think it's reminding me.
Oh, how did I learn about all this? Well, back in the day, through magazines. Famous Monsters, Castle of Frankenstein, things like that. Yeah, like the ones I have upstairs. But you know what? There's a new place to go for info about stuff like this and everything else in the Grindhouse world. Yes, there is, Milo. It's called Grindhouse Resurrection Magazine. And it's jam-packed with articles about these films. The folks who write for GRM, they lived it. And there's a piece in the premiere issue all about early zombie movies without a bite. You should check it out. There's a link in the show description to get your paws on a copy.
Grindhouse Resurrection!
Yay! TheFuseboxShow.com.
Well, welcome back, everyone. So, as we've lamented, we've got crazy times right now. As a clever blogger posted the other day, the courts seem to be playing whack-a-maga lately. One stupid thing after another gets presented to the courts, which then gets whacked down, only to reveal another crazy, unlawful, and unconstitutional act.
I'm wondering if maybe the better approach is to just whack the main source of this stupidity.
I do so love the simplicity of that suggestion, Mr. Keynes.
Just saying.
Yeah. Well, to help balance the infestation of bad faith acts, here is...
Hello. I'm here to bring you the good news.
And as a follow-up to the last show where I was urging you with great haste to please do yourself a feel-good favor and watch a documentary currently on Netflix called Pangolin, Kulu's Journey. I have some pretty great news regarding those delightfully odd little critters. Federal officials have proposed declaring the pangolin endangered, a move that would help protect what is often considered the most trafficked mammal in the world.
So they weren't protected before?
Yeah, see, only one species, and that was back in the 1970s, but they should have listed all of the various species. Pangolins are, in case you don't know, weirdly adorable, at least I think. Our YouTube watchers are seeing one right now. Lucky you. But they're not exactly cute and cuddly creatures since they're covered in protective scales. And those scales are sought after in traditional Chinese medicine, making them a target of wildlife trafficking. And their meat is also considered a delicacy in parts of the world. Up to 2.7 million African pangolins are killed by poachers every year. mainly because of demand from Asian markets. Now, in a bid to increase protections for these magnificent little mammals, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service is looking to list 4 Asian pangolin species, the Chinese, the Indian, Sunda, and Philippine pangolins, and 3 African species, the white-bellied, black-bellied, and giant pangolins, under the Endangered Species Act.
Giant? Wait, are we talking like Godzilla size or?
And of course, you know I love that notion, Mr. Keynes. Can you imagine a giant, fire-breathing pangolin showing those low-life poachers a thing or 9? This proposed listing reaffirms the service's commitment to protecting these magnificent species and ensures the United States does not contribute to their continued decline. That from a statement from the U.S. FWS. The Temminck's ground pangolin, an African species, has been listed as endangered in the U.S. since the 1970s. So this proposal would mean all 8 recognized pangolin species would finally be protected under the law. Pangolins are nocturnal animals that can curl into a tight ball to protect themselves from predators, but their slow and peaceful demeanor leaves them rather vulnerable to poachers, who of course can grab them up. Plus, the animals have difficulty seeing traps laid for them because of their poor eyesight. While the international trade of pangolins is already prohibited under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, poaching has unfortunately continued to threaten the animal. Profits from the pangolin trade also fuel drug and arms trafficking, according to the US FWS statement. This move has been enthusiastically welcomed by conservationists and wildlife activists. Quoting here, "I'm delighted the United States is doing its part to save these adorably odd creatures," says Sarah Ullman, International Program Director at the nonprofit Center for Biological Diversity. She goes on to say, "Pangolins are on the razor's edge of extinction, and we need to completely shut down any U.S. market for their scales. There's no good reason for anybody to ingest any part of a pangolin."
Well, they wouldn't be on my menu. That's for damn sure. A pangolin omelet? No thanks.
Yeah. Protections for the animal are long overdue, says Nicholas Arrivo, an attorney for the nonprofit Humane World for Animals. He says, they deserve to be protected from commercial exploitation. And this is a sign that the U.S. is doing its part. Advocates from national and international conservation groups have petitioned officials to list the pangolin for years, reports Alexa St. John at the Associated Press. This proposal, though, comes as the Trump administration is seeking to significantly limit the Endangered Species Act's power to protect habitats. But once the proposal is finalized, the pangolin would become one of the first animals to be added to the endangered species list since the president took office in January, reports the Washington Post.
What we really need is open hunting season on fascists, bro.
And along the same lines of critterdom, here's some uplifting info from the folks at World Animal News. Italy has enacted new legislation imposing stricter penalties for animal cruelty, including fines up to 60,000 euros and prison terms of up to 4 years. The law redefines animals as sentient beings, aiming to combat practices like dogfighting and the dissemination of animal abuse content online.
Well, I know a couple of Japanese pocket squirrels that will probably really dig that news.
Well, I know for sure Eco has wanted to visit Italy for forever.
Italy!
And this report from Reuters. Scientists in Japan have created a biodegradable plastic that completely dissolves in seawater within hours. Now, unlike existing bioplastics, it leaves no microplastics or toxins behind. The innovation could revolutionize marine packaging and fishing gear, two major contributors to ocean waste, and is already being tested for real-world use.
Now, that's a smart-as-hell move.
Indeed. And this last bit is from Ars Technica, which, okay, on the surface might sound a little alarming, but CERN, the European Organization for Nuclear Research, which is an intergovernmental organization based in Switzerland that operates the world's largest particle physics laboratory. CERN's focus is on studying the fundamental particles that make up the universe, using advanced particle accelerators and detectors. Well, this group is now preparing to ship antimatter.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you heard me right. Actual antimatter across Europe. Until now, antimatter research has been confined to a few labs, and its transport was basically considered impossible. That's about to change. CERN is preparing to ship tiny quantities of antihydrogen to research institutes across Europe. Now, you may ask, why does this matter to me, Mr. Talking Head podcast host?
Saw what you did there.
Yeah, always the eagle eye, Mr. Kane. The answer is that antimatter is central to some of physics' biggest unsolved questions, like why the universe exists at all. Sharing it could democratize access to fundamental experiments and increase our understanding of the asymmetry between matter and antimatter that created the cosmos.
And create a giant-ass black hole in our solar system, which allows a gateway to open to let the giant mantis aliens in.
Oh, pshaw, Mr. Keynes. The giant mantis aliens have been here for decades. Well, just like this guy. So, friends, we've got a delightfully insightful piece of political satire here from the wonderfully creatively fertile mind of our own Jodi Lorimer, and one that I had entirely way too much fun putting together.
Actually, I think that much fun is illegal in Utah.
Guilty as charged, Officer Keynes. Friends, here's a delightful audio piece titled, with all due respect to the bard, King Lear.
We find ourselves at a precipice. Our kingdom teeters as the foundation beneath our walls crumbles. We rush to save it, calling more and more to come with signs and bullhorns to rally, to shore up the shifting sands. The stones crumble and fall. To reveal a ragged curtain, dragged down by a little dog named Toto. Before us is a theater. It seems we're in the final act, for the fury and confusion that appears before us could be explained in no other way. A fat blonde man in a crown is yelling from a podium. Melania stands frozen-faced next to him in an impeccable Dior gown of gold lame trimmed with dead minks. Behind is a cityscape in flames.
Plate sin with gold,
he says.
but yet I call you servile ministers. Whither noble Giuliani when I need him? I fear I am not in my perfect mind. But it is the best mind. There's never been a better, more beautiful mind than mine.
Elon slips his hand out of the man's pocket and scuttles away. Thunder crashes and the stage lights up in a flash. Melania slinks away behind the shrubbery and is hustled off stage left by men wearing dark glasses. Christy Gnome leaps from behind a garbage can in borrowed fatigues and a $60K Rolex watch. Her Gucci bag is firmly tied to her chest so it won't get stolen. She fires rubber bullets into the audience, shrieking with wild abandon. The audience ducks and covers, but no one leaves. They can't miss the ending they've heard so much about. Don Jr. and Eric are discovered creeping around under the seats, looking for dropped coins and lost jewelry. A shriek from a bediamond matron sends them running off to Saudi Arabia. The fat blonde man cries after them, "Sons, wait! I was going to will you my kingdom." They pause and call back, "You know we love you more than life itself. More than killing defenseless animals, more than porn stars. You are the best president that ever lived on the face of the earth through all time." They drop to their knees, genuflecting, stuffing sparkling chains in their pockets, then leap to their feet. "Thanks for the gesture, but we already have it, Dad. We offshored it to Qatar." And they race for the wings. At a downstage table sits a freakishly tall young man riveted to a computer screen. We hear the shriek of a dragon. The blast of fire. "Baron," calls the man, "your brothers have betrayed me. They've robbed me, and now I'm homeless. I'm moving to your place, Baron." "Baron?" The young man briefly glances up. "Not now, Dad. I prefer this glib and oily art. I just hit level 5, and I don't care. Do you?" At a nearby table, Hegseth is served never-ending Jell-O shots by a topless Pam Bondi. While texting plans to invade Panama that are simulcast on a jumbotron behind him. "My wife always wanted to go to the tropics. Well, here you go, dumpling. It'll be ours soon." Stephen Miller crosses the stage in brown shirt attire, pushing a squeaking cage stuffed with sobbing brown children. RFK swings in on a vine from stage right. Red and shirtless, he spritzes the audience with a sticky mix of orange juice and botulism. People in the audience begin to cough, swell, and pass out. One man whimpers, "But I want to see how it ends." Dr. Marty Makari, FDA commissioner, hands him a bottle of tainted baby formula. "Here, it's full of vitamin A and you'll be right as rain in no time." The man collapses. Tulsi Gabbard excuses herself from the play, explaining that the warmongers had fomented tensions and she was going to her nuclear bunker till things calmed down. She could be heard saying, "You saw Dr. Strangelove, right? It's true." Nancy Pelosi and AOC enter stage left carrying a cross. They proceed to crucify Mike Johnson upside down. Speaker Johnson smiles benignly the whole while, saying, "Nope. Doesn't hurt a bit. Not a bit. Not even a little. It's just fine. I'm really very fortunate." The fat blonde man is tearing at his very long red tie. The lightning increases as a mock-up of the Empire State Building rises out of center stage, next to smiling Mike Johnson, and the man begins to climb it. Marco Rubio enters in motley and jester's hat. He implores the man to come down. "You are the wisest, best president that ever walked the planet. You cannot abandon us to our fate at the hands of the woke liberal mob." The man yells down from the 3rd floor, "Come not between the dragon and his wrath." Rubio shakes his head, and the bells on his hat tinkle. He sighs. Old fools are babes again, and must be used with checks and flatteries when they are seen abused. The king is in high rage. The rain begins to pour down, and lightning flashes. The man is streaming with water. His suit sticks to his body and weighs him down. He begins to slip. He looks down, then back to the heavens, and defiantly screams, "Blow winds and crack your cheeks. Rage. Blow. A video replaces the invasion plans of Panama behind Hegseth's bar table, of Scrooge McDuck swimming through a room filled with gold coins. Dylan's song, I Ain't Gonna Work on Maggie's Farm No More, plays under, as the line,
The National Guard stands around the door.
rings out. The man slips, begins to fall. The lights go out. The curtain closes.
Oh, I wish, bro.
Well, as we all know, Mr. Gaines, thoughts become things. So keep on thinking out there, folks. Thanks once again to Jodi Lorimer for that truly inspiring piece. Wonderful visions in that one for sure.
Well, I think Jodi absolutely captured my vision of the dumber than a bag of doorknobs Pam Bondi. Definitely a showstopper.
She does seem to fill the bill. No? Well, friends, our last item on the Fusebox audio menu is this delightful, morsel from our pal 42nd Street Pete. This time, a look back on one of the classic gut munchers of the 1980s, the highly disregarded cinematic gem, Cannibal Apocalypse.
Oh, that reminds me. Where do you want to go for lunch after the show?
John Saxon, Elizabeth Turner, Cannibal Apocalypse. When they come out, you'll taste a new kind of terror. And when they reach for your blood, you'll know a new way to die.
And now it's time for another Grindhouse Minute with 42nd Street Pete.
This is from 1980, and this is a cannibal film that takes the cannibalism out of the jungle and puts it in downtown Atlanta, Georgia. And it's been released under 3 different titles. The original title was Cannibal Apocalypse, but it was released as Cannibals in the Streets on 42nd Street. It's funny how when they retitle some of these cannibal films, like Make Them Die Slowly, Doomed to Die, and the more lurid the title, the longer the film runs. But like I said, this one is kind of weird because it starts in Vietnam, a Vietnam populated by American evergreens and American songbirds. And John Saxon is leading a rescue party to get 2 GIs out of this pit where they're trapped in this Viet Cong compound. So they had set this Vietnamese girl on fire, and she fell in the pit. And immediately the 2 people in the pit, Giovanni Ribisi, a.k.a. John Morgan, and Tony King, start to eat her. And when John Saxon, who's in every Italian film, he reaches in to get him and gets bit. So now we go back to, the States, and John is having these disturbing dreams. And at the same time, the Ribisi character, Bukowski, is let out of the hospital. And he decides to go see a movie. And while he's seeing the movie, he takes a chunk out of some chick's neck. So these bikers chase him and corner him in a flea market. He finds a gun store in the flea market and blows one biker right off the bike and blows a security guard away and starts chowing down on the security guard. So, of course, they call John Saxon to get him out of there, and they put him and Tony King. Tony King basically bites a nurse. Now this thing's transmittable, so Tony King and Bukowski are in this thing, and all of a sudden, the John Saxon character is having these urges, and he bites one of his next-door neighbors, this noble little girl who tried to seduce him. So he goes to the hospital and lets them all out. Meanwhile, the nurse had just kissed her boyfriend and ripped his tongue out and ate it. There's all kinds of shit going on, including one cop that got bit who basically bites another cop's tit off through a uniform. A lot of tit munching in these things for some reason. So our heroes take off, and they're cornered by the biker gang, who they basically kill, and one guy gets his eye gouged out. They get into the sewers, and there's a battle with the SWAT team. Radice's character is climbing through a grating, and this is the scene that was cut out of almost every print available. They shotgun him from behind and blow a bowling ball-sized hole in his abdomen, and the camera dwells on that, where you can see people running through the hole. The Tony King character gets set on fire, and the nurse gets shot. And Saxon is wounded and goes home to his wife, who has also been infected by somebody. And they basically commit suicide. Well, the main cop goes out and he goes, I'm glad this nightmare is over. Then you see the two kids peering out the neighbor window with their chewed up aunt behind them, telling us that it's far from over. Like I said, I had like 3 VHS copies of this movie, and each one was missing something. I mean, this was probably the most horribly edited movie in the history of Grindhouse films, because they just took everything out they could. But it's been restored on Blu-ray. I think Kino Lorber has it out. So that's our Grindhouse Minute for today. Cannibal Apocalypse, a.k.a. Invasion of the Flesh Eaters, a.k.a. Cannibals in the Streets.
This has been another Grindhouse Minute with 42nd Street Pete.
You know, I just love the scam that so many film distributors used to pull by renaming the same movie with 7 or 12 different titles.
Well, I know I've been conned by that. Hell, I even bought the same damn movie twice because of that shit.
Yeah, me too. As a matter of fact, in a recent release from Severin, they had the good sense, at least, to give you a copy of both films. Because in the case of Zombie Holocaust, which is also known as Dr. Butcher MD, and of course the MD stands for Medical Deviant, it is an entirely different cut of the film.
Well, there ought to be a law.
Well, I'm sure the current regime running our country into the ground will come up with something very soon. And on that happy note, folks, we shall go right on ahead and call it a show. But not before thanking our contributors to this edition of Fusebox, Jodi Lorimer and 42nd Street Pete for wonderfully calamitous concoctions of amusement-nessment. Thanks to, as always and forever, to the cantankerous caliph of the Center Channel, Milt Keynes for technical assistance, and co-producer Ificationism Necessity.
Spleen-gobbling pleasure as always, my cinematically twisted friend. And you out there can help us stop the cannibal corpse invasion, unless you dig that band, by going to our Patreon page and becoming a member of the Fusebox Audio Brigade.
Yes, indeed. Free swag for joining, early show releases, exclusive and highly super-duper secret content for members' ears and eyes only.
That's patreon.com/The Fusebox Show.
Thanks as well to Grindhouse Resurrection Magazine for their continued gooey gobs of gore assistance, and word on the street has it that another issue is coming our way soon. So, stay tuned.
Would that street be 42nd Street?
Saw what you did there.
Then my work here is done.
Folks, also be sure to check out the Fusebox store available on our website, thefuseboxshow.com.
Shop, buy, repeat. Because those Fusebox whiskey mugs and church flasks ain't gonna buy themselves.
Very true, very true. Thanks as always to you, friends, for pushing play on this here show. We are so appreciative of your time and indulgence, if not your drunken boredom. I have been and will continue to be your half in the bag but out on parole host, Mark Rose, saying until our next cartoon.
Fusebox. Sure. Hang on. Hey, bro. It's Milo on line 2.